in a unanimous decision. Not 5-4, not 5-4, unanimous. Mr. Speaker, the court has spoken. It is time for all of us to move on and in a united manner confront the problems of post-COVID-19 Ghana.
We'll continue shortly on the state of the nation address, which ended a while ago. But first, Asaase Radio will be bringing you a comprehensive analysis of the election petition and the way forward in the maiden edition of the tax series. Ahead of that, here is a teaser of a special documentary on this petition that will be playing on the tax series tomorrow.
And so the results declared by the G-Mensa-led Electoral Commission is a stolen verdict, as the NDC has maintained since the declaration.
As these press conferences continued, sympathizers of the NDC also hit the streets across the country to lend their support to their leader. In fact, a group of minority MPs also waded into the protest. They marched to the Electoral Commission headquarters to register their displeasure. The elections were stolen and they must be heard. This particular march did not pass without an incident. The minority MPs clashed with the police because, per the argument of the police, these lawmakers breached the Public Order Act that demanded that they informed the police ahead of their action. But the MPs would have none of it.
That they are shoving and pushing. Look at the amount of guns here. We should not be seen carrying our lawful duty to the extent that police officers were blocking us on 3 different stages up to where we have gotten to. And in the wisdom of the leader, of our leader, he thought we should just be here so that we allow somebody from the office to come and collect our petition. That too fell on deaf ears. And the police officers will never agree to what we are supposed to be doing. And in fact, what is happening is the darkest day in Ghana. They pushed me, they molested me, but we are here to do exactly what we wanted to do. Did you see any member of parliament attacking a policeman? No. The petition, walking on the street, ask permission from Kwesi Fori. What an impunity. That is an insult to us. Kwesi Fori actually read something when he was studying to be a policeman. Where did he read that when I'm coming to present a petition to the, how do you call it, Electoral Commission, with my colleagues walking on the road, I should inform him. When?
As proceedings continued, the petitioner called in his witnesses, with the party's General Secretary, Johnson Asiedu being the first.
Every punctuation, every sentence that relates to me, Johnson Asiedu. And there is nowhere, unless we are watching different
clips. The second was Dr. Michael Pesa-White, and then the third, Rojo Meto Nunu, whose testimony caused him to trend on social media. In fact, gave him the front page space in some of the country's dailies. He said he was given tea at the EC headquarters without biscuits. Well, that was part of his testimony to support the petitioner's claim that the elections were stolen.
When you went, you were in that secretariat for close to 3 hours. Is that not so?
Because I was told to wait.
Answer the question.
I was told
in that secretariat for close to 3 hours.
I was told to wait, and it's for that reason that I was shown the reception area to her office, and I kept on waiting until 10. She asked me to wait for her in her office reception.
Mr. Chikata, may I have your attention? Please, can you let your witness be very, very, very specific or brief on some of these simple issues? Very, 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 very simple. I don't know where he's dragging this. He was asking a simple question.
My Lord, I do not wish to interfere with the answers of the witness.
Yeah, I know. The witness is your witness. Here to help the court to elicit information to help us arrive at the truth.
Yes, my Lord, if you take the answer that he was in the process of giving, he says you were there for 3 hours, and he says he was there.
Mr. Minister, you go on.
Tell the court how long you were in the secretariat for.
Oh, it was a considerable length of time. It was a considerable length of time.
Yes.
And because the commissioner was not there, and
you had left the strong room, not so?
That is correct.
And even whilst there, you were offered tea and biscuits, not so?
I was offered tea. I wasn't offered any biscuits.
So those were excerpts of a special documentary on the 2020 election petition I put together in the fall. Documentary plays on the tax series starting at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. I'm joined in the studio now by Mel Kwesi Davis. He's the head of events and promotions here at Asaase Radio. Mel, first tell us more about the concept of this show.
Hi, Beatrice. So the tag series is basically Talk, Act, Grow. So the tag, TAG, is an acronym for Talk, Act, and Grow. So we are starting this tomorrow. That will be the maiden edition, and every 3 months we're going to have another one. Now, the tag series is not just about politics, it's about everything that bothers the country. So social issues, medical issues, whatever it is. Once it's something topical and we believe that Ghanaians need to understand and know better, we would put out the panel members that would be able to do justice to whatever topic that we put out there.
The former Supreme Court Judge, Justice William Atuguba, is the chairman for this maiden edition. Who else are we expecting?
Okay, so we have like you said, Justice William Atuguba as our main chairperson. We have Nikpapu Samuado. He's also going to be on the panel. We're going to have Dr. Kwekwaji Mambudu also on the panel. We're going to have Madam Fati Abubakar also on the panel, and we're going to have Dennis Ajejumo, who is also a fine legal brain, who is also going to be on the panel. So it's going to be interesting, it's going to be exciting and educated. I think people should just tune in and be part of it. So
to make it then, Mel Kwesi Davis is the head of events and promotions here at Asaase Radio. We'll continue with the State of the Nation address, and now a major part of the President's address was dedicated to the digitization of the country's entire economy. The President touted his achievements over the last 4 years as he delivered his first message on the State of the Nation address for his second term. The latter part of the government's first term was rocked with the COVID-19 pandemic, which has ravaged many economies across the world. But in his address today in Parliament, the President said the measures they put in place helped to contain the virus.
I indicated at the time that we know what to do to bring the economy back to life. What we do not know how to do is to bring people back to life. That is why government did not hesitate to institute measures to protect the lives and livelihoods of Ghanaians, even if it was to the temporary detriment of our much sought-after fiscal stability. The formulation and implementation of the COVID-19 preparedness and responsible plan, tracing, testing, treatment, waiver of personal income tax, and provision of an additional 50% basic salary allowance to healthcare workers, expanding the capacities of laboratories to increase COVID-19 testing, establishment of isolation centers in all regions and districts, fumigation of markets and schools, provision of food packages and hot meals for residents in areas affected by the partial lockdown, provision of free water for all households, provision of free electricity for lifeline consumers, and a 50% discount for all other consumers. Reduction in the communication service tax from 9% to 5%. The institution of a 750 million CD loan facility for micro, small, and medium enterprises through the CAP Bus initiative, and the provision of a 2 billion CD guarantee facility to support large businesses such as schools and pharmaceutical companies are amongst the several measures put in place by government to cushion Ghanaians from the impact of the pandemic.
Now, to boost the economy, Mr. Akufo-Addo said the government will put in the needed measures to ensure cocoa is not the only cash crop that brings money to the country.
Pay to our farmers. Through the establishment of the Tree Crops Development Authority, government is determined to end the over-reliance on cocoa and develop other cash crops such as cashew, cotton, mango, oil palm, rubber, and shea. Government remains committed to the completion of the many harbors and landing sites, which are different stages of completion in Senya Breku, Disco, Elmina, Moray, Winneba, Gumwafete, Tessie, Keta, Mumford, and Jamestown.
One other priority has to do with digitizing Ghana's economy in education, the judiciary, and other aspects. President Akufo-Addo said already laptops are being worked on for the Ghana Education Service to ensure this begins in our schools.
Our target is to increase the ratio from the current 18.8% to 40% by 2030, focusing on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM-related fields, with emphasis on engineering. This will be achieved by significantly increasing enrollment in existing public and private universities and through the establishment of an open university. We expect record numbers of enrollment over the next 4 years. I acknowledge that the teacher is at the center of every reform in the field of education. Prioritizing the welfare of teachers remains a key objective of government. After the restoration of teacher training allowances, government is now paying professional allowances to both teaching and non-teaching staff. Something you found very difficult to do in 8 years. I'm happy to announce the government is facilitating the acquisition of 280,000 laptops for members of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, GNAT, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, CCT, this year. Moving forward, the Minister for Education will soon detail an action plan for the implementation of the National Teacher Policy. Government has also introduced several interventions at the high school level. Some of these are the 198 million CD Academic Intervention Support Program, dedicated for extra classes for students in SHS. Implementation of free internet connectivity for secondary school. Full absorption of BEC registration fee for all students in public junior high school from 2017 till date. And full absorption of WACC registration for students, which started last year.
President Akufo-Addo there. I'm joined on the line now by parliamentary correspondent Philip Asian. Philip, bring us up to speed on other key issues the president highlighted. Hello, Philip.
Hello, Vicky. Hello, Vicky.
Great. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, so the president touched on a number of issues as well. The beginning of his presentation actually highlighted some of the setbacks and the strides that have been made as far as the economy is concerned. So he revealed that the country was growing averagely at a rate of about 6.7% before the COVID-19 pandemic, which affected it significantly. And that prior to the pandemic hitting the country's economy, there was some reduced fiscal deficit, there was a single-digit inflation rate, there was a stable exchange rate, there was also a strong foreign exchange buffers, as well as an appreciable level of job creation. In this matter of job creation, he said that despite the shock that has confronted the country's economy, government has been able to safeguard 100% all workers in the public sector. And so no worker or employee in the public sector have had to go home as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. He also touched on the various social intervention initiatives that were rolled out as a result of the COVID. He talked about the free electricity, the free water supply, as well as the additional incentives that were given to frontline workers as well as health workers. And then also the harmonization, actually, of all ID cards in the country aimed at supporting the digitization drive was something he touched on as well. And he's also touched on the support to the various security agencies as well, which includes the Ghana Armed Forces. He talked about beefing up security and retooling the armed forces. And for instance, with the Ghana Police Service, some over 700 vehicles that were procured and some apartments or housing units also for the immigration service, specifically an 84 apartment units under construction at Odoko, also for the immigration service as well. And he also touched on some international relations. He touched on his position as chair of ECOWAS and the success of bringing stability to Mali as well, which he was basically involved with. So these are some of the things, in addition to the sounds that he played, that were highlighted by the president at the just ended State of the Nation address.
The president also talked about the Japa deal. What exactly did he say?
Okay, so the president actually has hinted that he will be bringing the Japa deal agreement back to Parliament, extolling the benefit that he's convinced that the deal will actually bring to Ghanaians. So he actually said that government will come back to engage Parliament on the steps it intends to take on the future of the Japa transactions. And the Japa transaction, you know that the Japa royalty deal generated so much interest from several quarters because of some allegations of controversies of interest among others. And I have been getting some reactions actually from that particular statement or the thing that was given by the president. So I interacted with the minority leader, but he says that the minority is not going to support the deal when it comes to Parliament, and that they are firm in their earlier stance that they don't believe in the deal, and so whether there will be some adjustments or negotiations ongoing, he, as it stands now, is resolute or he's firm that the minority on his side is not going to support the deal. So that's just with regard to the deal. The president has said that he's going to come back to the House, but this time around, maybe with a more relaxed nature in terms of negotiation and making people or the legislators, so by and large, they will be approving and ratifying it to be able to understand the pros and cons as well.
And beyond the Japa deal and the immediate reaction you've had, what has been the general response from, both, especially the minority, to what the president presented?
Well, it's been interesting, especially from the minority, as you say. We know that usually that's what characterizes that you have the minority coming strong and criticize whatever has been said in the address. But specifically, the minority members that I interacted with touched on the LGBT issue. And to them, it was very sensitive and it was important for the president to have tagged on it. You know why? Because they say that the diplomatic community were ably represented here. You had ambassadors, you had representatives of various governments actually coming to witness the State of the Nation address. So it would have been an opportunity to have reaffirmed the earlier position of government. So that's what the minority members have been saying. But also, rebutting that from the majority members, they also say that there has been enough said on this as well. Actions have been taken. The president has, on a number of occasions, actually commented on that. And so it wasn't as if government have been silent on the LGBT issues as well. And then also, they also talk about the death that they think that not much was said. Even though when you listen to the address or the presentation, government actually talked about how the COVID even affected the death-to-GDP ratio, but they are saying that they would have loved to hear some specifics. And so that is what the minority have also been saying as far as that is concerned. But for the majority members, they say that every sector of the economy was touched on. And for them, that's what is important, because the president is expected to say something about all the aspects of the sector of the economy. And so once that was done, if you want some better clarification, you can follow up and request for them accordingly.
Thank you very much, Parliamentary Correspondent Philip Asiao there. Now, the whole community is mourning, and we are living in a different world in this part of the country. Those are the words, the touching words of an uncle of one of the deceased in the drowning incident that took place at Apa in the central region of the country. The incident, which occurred on Sunday, has so far claimed 12 lives, mostly teenagers. Bismarck Bise is the district chief executive for the area.
What you know from now is a conversation we had with those who survived the unfortunate incident. Yesterday, they were taken to the hospital, so we engaged them. One will tell us that they numbered about 15. The other said they were about 20. So we are looking at something between 15 and 20. This is what we are working with. But we are also hoping that parents who have not seen their children or who have lost their kids will approach us and tell us. In that case, we will be able to tell that there are more yet to be found. And as at today, we have retrieved 12 dead bodies. 2 are alive. Of the 12 dead bodies, 2 of them are female, and then the other 10, they are all males. And they are aged between 13 and 17. They are all young men and young women. That is what we've been doing up until now. So, but we also have to follow procedure. So even though the family members were eager to have possession of the dead bodies, we needed to wait and ensure that the police goes to court to get the coroner inquest and subsequently get the autopsy conducted. That is what is being done right now, and I have just received an alert that we've gone through that process, and they're advising that the bodies should be taken tomorrow from the morgue. What we'll be doing is that we'll be engaging the leaders of the community. This is a kind of a special case, what we refer to as atofuwo, so they are treated in a different manner. As to whether it is going to be a mass barrier or individual kind of barrier, we can't tell until a meeting together with the leaders of the community has taken place. So this is where we are now. In fact, from the onset of COVID-19, and especially when the president laid a ban on the activities at the beach, we had the Public Health Emergency Committee, especially the security wing, which is made up of the police, fire service, ambulance, immigration, BNI officers. We charge them with the coastal communities that we have. That is Abrekum, Mankwanze, Apam, Machenfo, Mumford, and then Gumwadego. They've been using the information system, causing announcements here and there. So, yes, that people respected it, but unfortunately, at the blind spot of the chief fisherman and his elders here, these our young brothers and sisters found their way to the beach.
Bisma Besie Income is the Chief Executive Officer of Goma West in the Central Region. Jema Pia visited the community and just returned. She joins me in the studio. Jema, what is the latest on this as regards the search for more bodies?
So, just as the DC said, there are some, one of the survivors they spoke to said there were about 15 people who got drowned. The other said 20. So they are looking between 15 and 20. Already they have 12 bodies at the morgue and 2 survivors. So between 15 and 20 people. But what they are doing now, the community leaders that I spoke to, they're just waiting for the sea to wash the bodies, if there are any, ashore. That's what they are waiting for. There's no active search for them. They don't even know where they are going to find them. So they're just waiting for the bodies to be washed ashore. That's what they are waiting for now.
You are in the community. You just returned, like I said. What kind of atmosphere did you experience when you got there?
So that's the topic of the town. Anybody you see, and then you just talk about the fact that some people got drowned, they can tell you the story, and they are shocked. According to them, this has never happened before in the town. It's very new and unusual, and so that's pretty much the atmosphere in the town. When I got to the hospital as well, where I visited, the police investigator on this particular issue was meeting the families who had their bodies at the morgue, and what he declined to speak to me, but what they were trying to do was to find a way to get these families, whether they're going to opt for mass burial or the individual families were going to take their bodies and bury them individually. So that was the conversation that was going on when I visited the hospital.
And talking about families, you have been speaking to an uncle of one of the deceased. What more can you tell us about what he said?
So the uncle for Christopher Awusi, he's one of the victims. He was saying that on Sunday, Christopher went to church with them, came back home, and on Sundays, as usual, he goes to play football with his friends. And so when he was not home, they presumed that he was playing football with his friends. Later, they got wind that some children or some teenagers had been drowned. And so they went there and they realized, or they saw the clothes that he was wearing on that day, on Sunday. So what they decided to do was to wait, and then later on they saw the body.
Na abofana nga son kompano onya abofra kompano Sunday the meaning na kwa asor ya puna asor ya befie no obor na wobo nsi me befie na onyi fie no ma adwen kare o kompano nsi by 4:30 to 5 no mu na wo friend dey po mo framba no bi ekogwalo poma epo no ze wono ko by ni na ye arehim dey o kan unte chi na mo framba ni bi fi mpano wabo ya manela pa agwesusu kamona epunazi won lokwan na yen nyina ya kro mpano nzi yakura na ya hwehwe na yen hu na atale na o hye no o do kro mpano yen hu atale no wo ho ba ya hwehwe na yen hu na o che do kan unta na pa na da na pa ya kwa hwehwe won yen hu ma ya tena banti won nyina wa machiro
o ka cho so ko
dabi wan ka bibia onanga Sundays no wabobolo matters park ha nti Sunday ni zina meja ya shola moti bia onye ni group fun obakwa akobobolo nti Sunday ni yapuna asho na ya yini befie na ye hunu no nya zi adwena inde ball na wo kobo onye nyimpa okompa no nti ono mpa no zi ya hwehwe no wo ho ya zi ya hwehwe no wo mpa no ba abofana bakade wa kompa no sanya nkubi na odada no onye kura yo so na no wiwa no kura ono zi yentumi yankyire ona zi wo friend pa akwesi na ne bo fuzi ye Christopher Ewusi
na sise busanfo aseme sise na mo se na mo
oh sisi ano amfa so bi amba anya ebusuan anko ekuro ya pan muni na no onya za oza asomdwe ba apan apan na ayareho ame ayereho ahyo mani na do bia rusu nti omane si yentena asomdwe mu kra.
So you had the uncle of one of the victims, Christopher Ewusi. What he basically was saying is that the Christopher didn't like to swim. He wasn't someone who go to the beach. And on Sundays, what he was doing was to come back from church and go and play football. And so they didn't have any idea that he was at the beach. And he doesn't even know whether someone lured him to go to the beach because it was banned. You are not supposed to go to the beach. But it's something that they do at the community Sunday special. That's what they call it. They just go to the beach, they swim and engage in all sorts of activities. So he doesn't know exactly what happened, whether someone influenced him to go there or not.
You earlier said that the police had declined comment, but I also know that you spoke to a doctor where some of the victims were transferred to. What did he say?
So 2 people, in fact 3 of them, they were brought to the hospital alive, but one was pronounced dead on arrival, and then the 2 males had been treated and discharged. So as at the time I visited the hospital, these 2 had been treated and discharged according to the doctor. And when they got there, they were suffering from serious respiratory distress. That's how he puts it. And they were able to resuscitate them, and now they were treated, discharged, they are fine, but they will be coming for checkup regularly.
On Sunday evening, we're on our normal duties when a mob brought 3 clients were told that were drowned in the sea. And in fact, the 3 of them, one was pronounced dead on arrival. The other 2, they were wet, drenched in water, difficulty in breathing, having respiratory distress. So the health workers on duty managed to resuscitate. They was put on oxygen, gave some medications, and thankfully they got well and they were discharged yesterday.
And we also understand that some of them who were brought here, but they were dead. How many do you have in your morgue now?
Yeah, so currently we have 12 bodies, all confirmed dead.
12 bodies all confirmed dead?
Yes.
And 2 have been treated and discharged?
Yes.
From your interaction with the community members, do you get a sense that they'll be bringing more of these people?
Yeah, in fact, as we speak, from the information gathered, we can't really pinpoint, we can't be sure on the number that got drowned, but I'm told rescuers are still on their mission, and then hopefully we should be able to find more.
So that was Dr. Caleb Mauto Joe. He's the medical director at St. Luke Catholic Hospital at Apa in the Central Region. Earlier, you heard our reporter Jim Apia there bringing us the latest on that incident in that region. It's now time for News Desk, and Caleb Ahinakwa is here.
On News Desk this evening, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has reaffirmed his government's commitment to promoting gender equality in his second term in power. The president, during his first State of the Nation address for his second term, hinted that the government, through the new Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Sarah Asaase, will resubmit the Affirmative Action Bill to the House. He pleaded with both sides of the House to ensure its passing into law.
At the beginning of my first term of office in 2017, government outlined its social development goals to include the promotion of gender equity and equality, survival and development of children, as well as the harmonization of social protection interventions and programs to contribute to the development of our nation. I'm pleased to inform the House that in the course of this session of Parliament, the new Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Honorable Sarah Asaase, MP, Member of Parliament for Domi Kwabenya, will resubmit to the House the Affirmative Action Bill. Our mothers, wives, sisters, and daughters are looking up to us. Indeed, it will make our society the richer. And I'm appealing to the House on both sides to make one big effort to ensure its enactment.
You heard President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo in other stories. The Food and Drugs Authority has asked the public not to patronize products offered online supposedly being advertised as COVID-19 vaccines. The FDA issued the alert in a statement released today. According to the FDA, the alert has become necessary as a result of reports of the seizure of some fake COVID-19 vaccines in South Africa. The FDA also cautioned courier services, including shippers and freight forwarders, against bringing into Ghana any unauthorized vaccines, so such practices will be in contravention of Section 118 of the Public Health Act and FDA's guidelines for emergency use authorization of medical products. Now, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kuma Abuaji, at the Ministry of Information's COVID-19 briefing on Monday says the Greater Accra region continues as a region with high coronavirus cases, which currently stands at 48,282.
We have so far recorded about 86,737 cases. We've tested about 930,000 people across the country with about 29,973 per million population tests done, with a cumulative positivity of 9.3. We have so far discharged about 81,000 out of them. We have recorded, unfortunately, 656 deaths with a case fatality rate of 0.76%. That is still high, but looking at the global average of 2%, that still means that I would say management has been good, or Ghanaians have been spared a lot of the havoc that other countries have had. Currently, our total active cases is about 4,782 cases. Currently, all 16 regions and 252 districts have ever reported.
Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kuma Abuaji. In other news, the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs has registered displeasure about widespread misconception greeting the introduction of the anti-COVID-19 vaccination in Ghana. According to them, a number of the various traditional areas in the Bono East region have always been worried about the increase in numbers of COVID-19 cases bedeviling the health of inhabitants in the region, and admonished all to discard the negative perceptions about the drugs. The president of the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs, Yao Cabrese, who is also the Omahene of the Yeji traditional area, disclosed this to Asaase News in Kintampo as part of effort by the house to get people to embrace the vaccination exercise.
It is a worrisome issue to Nananum Bono East region. Now that there is a vaccine to be vaccinated, get rid of this COVID-19, and some people are raising issues that will deprive some other people be vaccinated. I don't think it is a good idea. Government will not sit down for his or her population to be vaccinated and die. The government has taken up the responsibility to know the outcome. It isn't going to be anything affecting the health. It's just a matter of education. Nananum too are ready to help government educate the masses.
President of the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs, Yao Cabrese. Finally, manager responsible for dispatch operations at the Systems Control Center of the Ghana Great Company, Great Coast, Stephen Deborah, has attributed some difficulties faced in supply of power due to level of water at the Bui Dam. Some people have complained of intermittent interruption of power supply in recent times until last Sunday, when the country experienced a nationwide blackout for over 4 hours. Mr. Deborah said inadequate rainfall last year has contributed to the issues of interruption in power supply.
When we are dispatching the power plant to supply electricity to customers, you must do it strategically that the power will be stable. This requires a certain amount of generation from Akotombu, from Seman, from Abuaze, and then from Bui. If you are forcing the power like that, then the system becomes very stable. But coming into last year, we did not have enough quantity of rainfall that we normally used to have. So consequently, the water in the Bui level way down has run down. So it was under such condition that when the fault occurs, then it's the same at risk. But normally, when there is enough water in the dam, we are running as we have allocated the power to the various locations that are just described. This wouldn't have happened.
Stephen Deborah added that the Bui Dam is being well managed to ensure reliability in power supply until June, when adequate rains are expected.
the water in the brew dam. So at some point in the day, you need to shut the brew units down so that we conserve the little water we have for June, thereabout, when the rains come back. So in view of that, whenever that plant is not running, we tend to have a leaking gate which we are managing until the water comes back. And normally, within the first week of June, the water level should now, from June, it now begins to curve upwards. The inflow coming into the dam now becomes more than what we are discharging from the dam. So you see a positive rise in the water level. So that should happen within the first week of June. That's our expectation.
And that was the manager responsible for dispatch operations at the Systems Control Center of Great Coast, Stephen Debra. And the news desk on the Big Bulletin this evening. My name is Caleb Ahinakwa.
Thank you, Caleb Ahinakwa. The Ghana Health Service says there's a decline in the numbers of severe COVID-19 cases across the country. This is despite the latest statistics that show that almost 650 people have died from the virus across the country, with active cases hitting almost 5,000. At the Information Ministry's press conference, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaje, however, urged individuals not to let their guards down as regards respecting the safety protocols.
As of the 6th of March, total admission is about 177. We have critical cases of 25, severe 66, and 86 of them are moderate cases. And this is depicted in the next chart that shows a gradual decline, but slow but steady decline in the number of admissions, the number who are critically ill, and of course the number who are severely affected. The epic curve continues to show a decline, and so we hope that it will continue. And if you look at the next slide, which gives us the golden average, you can see that also pointing downwards, and we hope that we continue doing that. But that is so because of the things we are doing. This is not to make people complacent. We are down because a relatively high number are wearing masks. And we hope that if we continue with the introduction of vaccine, we should see a much steeper reduction than we are having.
Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaje. I'm joined on the line now by the Chairman of the Ghana Medical Association's COVID-19 Committee, Dr. Frank Owusu-Setre. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Doc, like I just said, you're in charge of GMA's committee on COVID-19 in the Greater Accra region. What have you seen in terms of reports at the health facilities as regards severe COVID-19 cases?
Yeah, I think our observation records what the Director General said, that there seems to be a gradual decline, not only on the number of cases that we are recording, but also on the serious to critical cases are also coming down. So we think that on the average, we seem to be on the right path, and we were encouraged that the measures that have worked for us must be continued.
Would you attribute this to the vaccination that started a number of days ago?
Certainly not. I mean, the vaccine, if you look at the literature on the vaccine, after the first dose, it requires about 22, minimum of 22 days to build immunity. So we cannot say that in the vaccine that is bringing out a number of cases. I suspect the measures that we put in place was going to bring it down anyway. The vaccine is an added preventive measure.
The last time we talked about side effects of people, side effects that people are reporting at the various health facilities in parts of the country. But what kind of cases are being reported now? Are you seeing more of these, or of course we've spoken about severe cases being on the decline?
Yeah, in terms of the side effects, it continues to hover around the pain and the sight, the general body weakness that they experience. Some will experience some headache, and then a few will have vomiting, diarrhea, nausea. And these are things that have been well documented by the manufacturers using the clinical trial. So it is not something out of the ordinary that we are experiencing. I look at Kolebu, for example. We have a sizable chunk of Kolebu workers immunized or vaccinated. And not that many side effects were seen. And there were few people that were admitted and observed overnight just to make sure that everything was okay. But on the average, apart from some pain that will respond to paracetamol or ibuprofen, we haven't had any severe side effects documented in the literature as the transient myelitis and even the Bell's palsy and the others that we were scared of. We haven't experienced any, to the best of my knowledge.
Doc, over the weekend I spoke to a couple of people who complained of sharp abdominal pains after vaccination. What should people in such, categories do?
If it is pain, just pain, paracetamol should be okay. But I've seen some people who will vomit and then have diarrhea as well. Those people will need to be managed so that they don't become dehydrated. It is not the pain per se that is going to be a problem, or the vomiting or diarrhea, but the dehydration that can resolve. But if it's not managed properly, can lead to severe consequences. So for me, these are expected, and there are ways to manage them, and that everybody should know. If you are in doubt, it is best to move to a health center, maybe for you to be examined, object, just so we don't attribute anything that happens to the vaccine. Sometimes we have something called red herring. The fact that you receive the vaccine doesn't mean if you have, say, typhoid with imminent perforation of your bowel, it will not continue. There is a tendency to ascribe that to the vaccine. And if you don't seek help, you can suffer from that. Just a few minutes if you're vaccinated. It may not always be the vaccine. So if you're in doubt, and if the symptoms are severe, I would advise that they are checked by a doctor.
Thank you very much. We'll end it here. Dr. Franco Usu-Sechera, he is the chairman of the Ghana Medical Association's COVID-19 committee in the Greater Accra region. Emmanuel Abuajeriafe joins us in the studio now with the latest in business.
Hi, Beatrice.
Hi.
And what's your personal assessment of the SONA?
A number of things were discussed, a number of things were not talked about that, people
so questioning.
Exactly. And so I think there's a lot of analysis to do as regards the issues that the president brought out and why certain issues were not, presented.
Let's wait and see what people are going to say and what responses they themselves will have to give to this. But in business, President Akufo-Addo says the Tema LNG project will come on stream in the course of this year to improve gas supply reliability for power and non-power industrial use. Delivering the State of the Nation address a while ago, President Akufo-Addo praised the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation for accelerating petroleum exploration activities in the inland Voltairean Basin.
The Ghana National Petroleum Corporation has accelerated petroleum exploration activities in the inland Voltairean Basin. It has successfully acquired and processed 2,538 line kilometers of 2D seismic data, analyzed 1,537 geochemical samples, and established a working petroleum system. A gas processing plant terrain is being constructed in the western region to complement the Atuabo gas processing plant so as to increase dry gas delivery for power and non-power through the West African gas pipeline. GNPC and its private sector partners have advanced the work on the Tema LNG project, Sub-Saharan Africa's first LNG regasification terminal, which is expected to come on stream in the course of the year to improve gas supply reliability for power and non-power industrial applications. The facility will also become a hub of regional energy security, ensuring low-cost fuel for both Ghana and her partners in the ECOWAS community.
You heard President Akufo-Addo. Meanwhile, CEO of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. K.K. Sapong, has debunked claims that investments in LNG processing in the country will constitute misplaced priority because the country is already producing enough gas from its offshore oil fields. Speaking in an exclusive interview on Asaase Radio's Energy 101, the GNPC boss stressed there is rising demand for LNG and that despite the associated costs, the current arrangement was relatively competitive.
People think that we are producing so much gases locally, domestic, and therefore there's no need for LNG. Far from that. I'll tell you, the previous government, which is before MPP came in, the NDC government, had more or less, were processing LNG projects, which were going to put 580 million scfs of million standard cubic feet of gas into the system. Outstripped.
We shouldn't have any concern about excess supply.
I don't know what they are people
not using.
Yeah, I was in a forum recently. I mean the Seaboard. I joined their forum, and there was so much. GNPC was being lambasted about this project, and that we're going to create excess gas into the system, and that will be so much expenditure to government. Yes, of course, if we bring more gas on take-or-pay basis, there will be more expenditure to.
You heard CEO of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. K.K. Sapong, ending business. Back to Beatrice.
Thank you, Emmanuel Abuajiri. For Benedict Owusu now brings us the latest in the world of sports.
Some of the Black Stars players have been assured promotion to the senior national team following their triumph as it just ended Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations in Mauritania. Now, the team won their fourth trophy after beating Uganda, and Ghana FA Vice President Mark Addo has told the players those who excelled will have a smooth transition to the senior level in the coming years.
We at the FA will continue to support you. We will continue to support youth football. And I was speaking to the president and the technical director, and the good news is that from the performance that you've shown, some of you will make it to the senior national team. I think it's a model that we want to continue to build, we want to develop so that those behind you will always see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So when you are playing, you know that there's opportunity ahead of you as well. You have the best opportunities that are available to us.
So that was Mark Addo, who is Vice President of the Ghana Football Association. Elsewhere, there is UEFA Champions League action tonight with Borussia Dortmund up against Sevilla, and Juventus will take on FC Porto. Remember, these are second leg games with all teams in a pole position to make the next stage of the competition, that is the quarterfinals. And away from that, Germany have announced their national team coach Joachim Low will step down as coach of the team after the next Euros, which kicks off in June. So who is likely to be his replacement? Wait to see. That's a sport.
Benedict also with sports. It's now time for entertainment, and Andy Sepa, hello, what's in entertainment?
Right, so organizers of 3 Music Awards have unveiled the first batch of winners for the 2021 edition of the event. The following report has more. The 3 Music Women's Brunch Show brought together many women in the creative arts industry. As part of the activities, some winners of the 3 Music Awards were announced. Adina was crowned Music Woman of the Year, while rising hip life star Jackie won Emerging Woman of the Year. Gospel musician Dinah Entry Hamilton took home the Most Streamed Female Act of the Year award. Renowned gospel musician Dinah Hobson, Frances Adimola, and ace actress Grace Notte were all honored at the second edition of the brunch. The program sought to show up interest and consolidate the sustained efforts made over the years in the push for female empowerment within the creative space and beyond. The 3 Music Women's Brunch saw performances from Yaya and Efe Grace, bringing euphoria to the show. And that was a report for the 3 Music Awards. Back to you, Beatrice.
Thank you, Andy Sepa. And that's how we end the big bulletin here on Asaase Radio. On top story, President Akufo-Addo asks petitioner in just ended 2020 election petition to move on in his first response after the Apex Court pronounced its judgment. And we also brought you details of the State of the Nation address.